And so we're wanting to be asking ourselves, is the story, is the interpretation, is the habitual thought process and ideas that are rising in my head that I'm telling about myself or other people actually true? Because there's a tendency when we're not conscious about this to just believe whatever it is that arises in our head. So by exploring the tantric path, we can learn to bring conscious awareness to this process of perception and see beyond the stories to the first order reality. And by doing this, we can discover the impact that the stories our mind creates have on our experience and identify how and when we may be projecting our inner stories onto other people, our own self, and the world around us. And so exploring how experience is created help us to realize how relative our truth really is, allowing us to be less attached. We come to understand that we actually know much less than our mind will try to convince us. And this reduces our own suffering by assisting in the karmic purification process. Investigating the process of perception can also help us better understand others. We can develop empathy and compassion by realizing that everyone has their own unique perception of reality based upon their past experiences, their beliefs, their desires. Their conditioning forms their structure, their behavior, and the stories they tell about themselves and the world. So by becoming aware of the process of perception and projection, we can question our beliefs and stories and discover the truth of our experiences. We can find greater peace and alignment with the present moment by letting go of attachments to our stories and interpretations. And this in turn invites us to have greater flexibility and better discrimination in what stories we allow to influence our experience of self and life. So we can choose to upgrade our stories sometimes. If we're beating ourselves up, judging ourselves, we can recognize that that's not helpful. It's not actually true, that there is something greater in our potential that actually exists. And we can begin to upgrade those stories towards something that's more truthful, more aligned with our higher potential, more aligned with self-love, compassion, and kindness. And as we develop this awareness, we can come to have more and more experiences of living fully in the present moment as pure aliveness and experience that is free from expectation or interpretation. And when we come fully into the present moment, we connect more to our true nature and experience a natural peace and joy. So being fully in the present also means that we become free from the story and just allowing ourselves to rest in the truth of the moment as it is. And so this teaching about perception matters because it provides a practical tool for reducing suffering and gaining greater peace and alignment with the present moment. It helps us to understand our relationship with the world and ourselves and how to evolve our story to be more truthful and aligned with our deeper nature. And so in terms of using this in your daily life, of course, contemplating the concepts and the ideas, but these are just a few questions that you might find helpful to explore, to think about. And these are some of the questions that I'll also be inviting you to explore when I do the guided process with you as well. So questions like, asking, how do my past experiences and associations shape my perception of reality? How can I bring more awareness and curiosity to the first order of reality, then reduce my tendency to project my inner stories onto the world and myself? And how can we bring awareness to our inner stories and question their validity? What stories do I tell myself that are not supportive of my happiness and my deeper truth? Where am I tripping myself up because I'm believing something that's not even helpful, that I'm telling myself something that's not even helpful? And then what's the difference between the first order and the second order reality? That's something that we're also wanting to invite, a distinction for ourselves, that we start to be able to make the distinction between when am I fully in the present experience, when I'm being really truthful and present to the moment, versus when I might be telling a story about it that's taking me out of the present moment. And how can we work with the process of perception and projection to reduce suffering in our lives? These are some of the questions that we might be able to come back around to how can we work with this process to reduce suffering in our lives as well.